then choose your next steps.
Did you just describe what commitment therapy is? It's the first time I heard this term, commitment therapy.
A little bit.
Yeah?
Acceptance and commitment therapies is acknowledgement of, hey, I can feel anger. I can feel anger all in my body. I can feel anger in my hands. When I get mad, I sometimes make these fists. That's acknowledging it. And this is idea of like, hey, I have the right to be angry. However, I don't have the right to be an angry person all the time to everyone else, right? This idea of acknowledging what it is, how it feels, but then diverting it, moving on, living your life, not living your life in that anger, right? Living your life of where you actually want to go with it.
I saw this TikTok the other day of a guy. He was like one of those life coaches, right? There's so many of those today. And he just entered the stage. Oh man, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. He just entered the stage carrying a bunch of dumbbells and sandbags. And it's like, you see, guys, you see that? That's you carrying all your resentment into life. You see what I can do? I just took one. He put it on the floor. It's like, bah, I drop it. And then he put the other one. Oh, I drop. Oh my god, I feel so much better. And again, that's you. You have this power. You're carrying all of that resentment, all of the anger. When all you have to do is just drop it and live a lighter and happier life. Okay, but it's a beautiful analogy. But something tells me that it's easier said than done for
Yeah.
some reason.
Yeah, so I'm gonna kind of add on to that. So thinking about also resentment as like poison, right? Like
Oh.
resentment or like anger for someone else. If we're just so angry, literally we're the one taking the poison. We're the one hurting ourselves because at the end of the day, the person who we're angry with or the person that we have a problem with goes on living their life. They could not care less about our problem with them, right? And so when we're holding on to all these baggages of like, past hurt or resentment or frustration or anger, and if it has to do with someone else, it's actually not their business. Like we're the ones holding these things. And so why are we holding them if it's to do with someone else that we have no control over? So this acknowledgement of, yeah, like putting it down, don't drink the poison anymore. Don't hold around that, 20-pound weight anymore. If it's for someone else, then yeah, you're just hurting yourself.
Do you have any, how would you say, practical activity or like something very, some type of guide that people can easily follow on how to drop it because or let it go? Because that's a problem that I personally had like a lot throughout my, like I know I need to let it go, but I just don't know how. What's this? What skill that I need?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So the irony of this all is that acceptance and commitment therapy is not one of the big theories that I practice, although I do wholeheartedly
Um,
believe in it. However, there I can give you a little strategy, and so this is called like I think it's called the miracle river, and this is this analogy or this like metaphor of like a lot of visualization, right? So as we were describing these like drinking poison or this idea of holding weights and all this kind of like metaphors exists of like what we hold for others, thinking about this idea of having this magical river, and if you can kind of like close your eyes and just imagine this beautiful creek kind of like running beside you, and as you kind of bring up these feelings or these thoughts or whatever it is that's causing you like distress, just imagine like putting it in the river, whether it's putting in a person in the river, whether it's putting a problem in the river, whether it's writing this problem down and putting it on a piece of paper and dropping it in the river. Just imagine like letting it go, and that's kind of this idea of like visualization of a river, and this is how people kind of also let things go. Sometimes people actually need to let things go physically, right? Sometimes people aren't very good visually. And so the other strategy is like go to the river, take some rocks as you throw rocks in the river. Think about what you're upset about. Think about what you want to let go, using kind of nature to help you release what you need to release. Another visualization for this, like, releasing exercise is even like thinking about balloons. A red balloon signifies, this person in your life that's really causing you stress. Imagine their face on the balloon, closing your eyes, letting that balloon go up into the sky, and then it's gone, right? Or even this idea of like lying on your back and looking up at the clouds, and this idea of as clouds pass, like throwing away what you need into these clouds, right? So visualization is super neat life hack that we don't use enough, and we forget that we actually have complete control over our minds. We think that our minds have control over us and that our minds are these like, psychic ability, amazing, like like muscles that are, super powered. Our brain is actually really just like a computer. It just takes all the evidence that we've had in our life and adds it to our memory bank, and then outputs whatever we remember and how we remember it. And so our mind is actually not this like amazing tool. Our mind is created from what we've experienced in our life. And so kind of keeping that in mind, and when we start to pull back the power we have over our thoughts, one of the sayings that I often say is like, you live most of your life inside your brain and your mind. Make it a nice place to be. You can do that. You can do that by, letting things go in that magical river in your mind, or with these balloons, or, the idea that, we forget that we have this power and control over what we think about. It's always not that simple, but looking at other theoretical orientations or other models of counseling, one of the ones that I use a lot is cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh,
When we think about like cognitive, that is like thinking, right? So thinking, and then behavioral, and then action, and that kind of is what the model talks about, which is very similar to a lot of other theories, but they all kind of have their own little area of expertise. But CBT talks about, what you think about, you bring about. CBT talks about like how you think about things is actually how you see the world. Another, example that I often talk about is, if you're someone who likes to go for walks, and, as an outlook on life, if you're going for a walk every day, and if you're looking down at the ground, looking out for dog poo, your walks are going to consist of you looking out for dog poo. And that's going to kind of be a different type of walk than if you go outside and if you're smelling the fresh air and looking up at the sunshine and watching the birds and the trees. Like, that's going to be a different walk than you looking down at the floor, always looking for poo, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Um, I think there's a name for that. Guys, correct me if in the comments if I'm wrong, but I think it's like the red car theory. And you might know, Dr. Cindy. Like if you're only think about you're thinking about red cars, all you're gonna see in the streets are red cars because your brain automatically just narrows down the thing you're looking for. It for some reason excludes out of reality all the things that are not focused on. I would guess it has. I actually don't know. That's complete. Like I'm a moron, right? But I guess it has something to do with the evolution, like the biological process that it went through, and that's something that was required in order, like during the chase, like. But that doesn't apply for a
Yeah.
woman though, because
So
yeah, take it away.
I'll jump in. So thinking a little bit back to what you're saying, and thinking back to my saying that our brain is a computer. And so we like to like identify patterns, right? And our brain will give us evidence to support what we're looking for. So same thing, if we're saying, I'm the worst person in the world, your brain's like, yes, yes, you are. Here's all the evidence. If you're like, you know what, I'm looking for red cars, your brain will like, okay, let's find red cars, right? So your brain really is a computer. You give it a task, it'll do it. And that's why it's really important to watch your thoughts, because if you're not careful, you can put yourself into like really low self confidence. You can put yourself into never trying to do things. You can put yourself, in depression in the sense that you're locked in your room, lights are off, curtains are closed, watching a depressing movie, crying, eating ice cream, feeling, this, you can see the cycle, right? So your brain will give you what you ask it to do. And that's why it's really important for us to pull back that control and work to visualize, work to set goals, work to, work on those positive affirmations. Give your brain the data that it wants that actually supports you living your best life.
Is that the ultimate goal of therapy? Help you live your best life?
People come in for different reasons. I mean, therapy can exist for, looking to get past trauma, to kind of not be haunted by flashbacks. Therapy can work for, couples counseling. Therapy can work for individual counseling, for depression, for, anxiety, for addictions. Like a lot of these things come up, and it does bring it back to like just not feeling happy in a life. And whether that happiness is, acting out with addiction, or whether that happiness